be looked at. Balance of trade, Germany exports, imports, ECB talking, construction PMI a little better, retail sales, well, it's positive, right, as opposed to negative, right? New car registration, softer 3-month, 6-month bill auction. And then Brazil, industrial production, softer. Consumer confidence out of Mexico. And then 30-year mortgages. Wow, that's just crazy, right? But, you know, it's back to the good old days, right? Applications, positive versus negative. And then we have here out of Canada, interest rate decision, productivity, and then we have JOLTS openings 10 at the same time as the, I mean, look, it's going to be sound bites and yada, yada, yada. I mean, what am I going to tell you? What am I going to tell you? What can I tell you? Still earnings driven for what's coming out. Look at CrowdStrike. My goodness gracious. I did sell. I had it in a small account. I just sold it. It was up like 50%. It was such a tiny position. I said, okay, well, I'm not going on with this anymore. Right. Yeah. Daily, we do have the beige book, so this is important. So I'll see what that is all about. Okay. Qashqai. So you have some interesting data that is coming out. And we are kind of subject to the Q&A. I mean, it's political speak, right? That's not a surprise to anybody, right? It's literally political speak. Yeah. Anyways. Abercrombie. So, you know, I'm thankful Spartan was telling me about it. I think it still goes higher. I mean, they just keep knocking out of the park. JDB, right? EVGO, I mean, UNFI, lowered guidance, how EVG, WCZ, YSG. It's a fan favor, some of the retail peeps. And then what do we got? Powell, mortgage, oil, Egypt, China, a new record low. Look, I mean, I have to say this with all honesty, that the Chinese government, i.e. Xi, is making Powell look like, and our Fed, like absolutely friggin' rock star geniuses. And you know what I think about our Fed. So that takes a lot, the bar is fairly low. I am just talking out loud. This is total, absolute, disgustingly incompetence, okay, on the Chinese side. This is exactly what they did with COVID, and they basically have not been recovering since then. And we've had robust debates about, you know, look, as long as the unemployment is systemic in those up to the age of 30 plus, okay, and they don't do jobs creations, I mean, like massive job creations, you will continue to see money flowing out of China, and it'll be China who, it'll be Japan, India, Indonesia, other places. Just saying. It's my story, sticking to it. Been right so far. China had new securities chief hits out at illegal traders market to sort. Whatever. They're plugging as many holes in the dike as they can. Strongly controlled by Qi Communist Party, whatever. Nikki Haley to exit Republican presidential race. How the bromance between Lim and Sam Altman turned toxic. Tesla superchargers aren't just for Tesla anymore. I put my Ford EV to the test and it worked. Cool. Super cool. What do we got? Age is not just a number for US voters. I agree with that. Biden is too old. Look, how can anyone, okay, just hear me out here. I'm not as sharp as I was. I'm pretty damn sharp. But look, there is no way. The same way that we had term limits because of Roosevelt is the same way we should have age limits because of Biden. It should be the Biden rule. I don't think anyone who's an octogenarian, and the simple reason being is you are so far removed generationally from the masses. Even someone in their 70s, look, I'm in my 60s, and I don't understand the vast majority of XYZ, whatever, what goes on with the youth today. Okay, I don't get it. Okay, so that's a political statement, but I also think it's important the two-party system's also broken, so don't get me started with that too. Okay, most used energy sources in Europe: oil, coal, natural gas. Apple hit with $1 billion, well, whatever. Overcrowding. Okay, whatever. Okay, once again, timing cycle. Yippee. I think, okay, so we're at the point right now, okay, on Apple, and I said this, that the risk reward is still, and to me, it's always about risk reward. Okay, there's a totally different risk when you're at 200 than when you're at 170, and you're in your head, you basically see going to 166, and I said 165, 166. So the risk reward is slowly shifting right now for Apple. All right. I'm just saying, the breakdown will allow short-term low invalidates further upside. Well, okay, whatever. Okay, he's at it again. Look, the fact that this is how I look at in terms of investments. Okay, first thing I look at is, I know this company really well as a product of something. Okay, Ford PE, ideally, I'd love it in the teens. Ideally, I would love it in the teens. Okay, number one. Institutional ownership, people are saying, I'm done. I'm out of here. Can't deal with it. Just can't. Dead money. And they're right. They are right. Okay. I think that they are finally getting their head out of the pussy. And Cook is saying, okay, maybe we should start looking at generative AI more. We'll see. But this is how I start thinking. Okay, it's all about risk reward. I start first there, and then I go. Thinking of a top, not a bubble. Look, bull markets have pullbacks. This time of year is historically sloppy choppy, but the pullbacks are shallow, and I think the market's expecting, when you've already had a pullback, and the market's very efficient, okay? You've had individual pullbacks like an Apple, right, from 200 all the way down to 170, okay? If you look at the indices as a whole, you will be lost. You'll be lost because it's not reflective or indicative of what's really going on, right? Just saying. We will increase VAT registration special to 90,000 pounds. Wolf. Okay. All 7 months. My role here is to be that educational side to say, okay, and I keep saying 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2. When it doesn't equal 2, you've got to rethink things. Okay. I do not think the market individuals are as long as you think they are, as robustly long as you think they are. Okay, I just don't think the consolidation is healthy, and yeah, we could have a 5% pullback. That's good. What I think is really more important for me right now, to be honest with you, is the rebalance that's coming next week. That to me is more important, okay? But I'm really quite happy making my money in Bitcoin and cryptos and gold and stuff like that. Semis, I'm quite happy. I'm just saying, instead of just looking at the raw data of the S&P in and of itself, that's where things happen, where people get mistakes. How much Netflix costs in each country? That's kind of interesting, though. Switzerland, well, and everybody else, cheap, inexpensive. Switzerland, Denmark, or the United States, Pakistan took it $3.88 is a lot, right? 25 companies by market cap. What did our girl Lizzie have to say? She had something. US IPOs. Lizzie had something. I'll find it. For a strong February employment report. Okay, well, okay, so this is kind of interesting because we do have to talk about this. I said 2 months ago, I thought we saw a low in inflation. I've said the economy's strong, stupid. We're not going to, I don't know if we're going to get a cut, let alone what they're pricing in. Okay. The market, but don't forget, a lot of the stuff that's going on is herb, okay, on the interest rate side. So it's really complex to figure out what the hell. Okay. The narrative, ideal narrative for me is as follows. There's no Fed fund rate change this year, but they do continue to work on the balance sheet, and that obviously would be a bullish thing. But part of the problem is that they keep adding to the balance sheet. So it's like, what the? Anyways, I don't know, but let's put it this way. There's a wall of worry, right? Okay, the wall of worry. We're still seeing, number one, overseas selling. China, more than likely Middle East, and Norway. Okay. Norway, and you have to remember, number one, in the Middle East, some of this is a necessity. Some of it's trimming, especially with the Norwegian sovereign fund, right? Because they're so long, Jack. And every time we get to these highs, if you look at it, the Norwegian fund has sold, trimmed, because of exposure weighting. Because of exposure weighting. Just like any asset manager would do, if you have something that you started out as 2-3%, and you're in NVIDIA or SMCI or whatever, and now it's weighted as like 10%, 7%, you will trim. And I think that's what we see every time we get to these all-time highs. I believe it's the Norwegian sovereign fund that trims to get back within their well-defined weightings. So what does that mean? Okay, so this is what it means. Okay, there is no way most asset allocation, unless you're a large, unless you're like a very aggressive fund. Okay, there's no way you're going to have a 15% allocation on any stock. It ain't going to happen unless you're a trader or something like that, or a hedge fund or something like that. So the Norwegians will trim it back. I'm just being real and honest with you guys. Okay, that's just asset management. That money remains short futures. Okay, whatever. Whatever. We don't want to see you bragging. Okay, Omdia expects that to keep going up and down with an estimated revenue. Thinks GPU demand will continue to outstrip supply for this year. Okay, there you go. NVIDIA data center GPU. Okay, so we've talked about all this stuff in terms of the build up, okay, in terms of these massive centers, right? So that's how I got into pure storage and stuff like that. But I still have a small position left on that line, but I'm waiting for the pullback to 10 EMA weekly. But I mean, this is just, I still think, look at this. I still think that this is still early days. I just do. Bank C&I loans deflated by CPI. Eunice, nothing new from her. Egypt has devalued the bond. I know many examples of goods getting destroyed overnight. You're starting to see the reason why you own gold and hard assets. Okay, let's talk. Anyone who's not a higher than thou, we're the best American, and lives is as a globalist. Okay, this is how they think. Asset class. Guess what? They don't want to be in the U.S. dollar. Be in the U.S. dollar. If you're looking from the outside in at the United States of America, you see CF clusterfuck. Okay, what's going on politically, domestically, all that stuff. And I know, okay, tech, whatever. But when I show you that when you look at this humanoid robotics, and it isn't in the United States where it's being done, it's actually out of Asia Pacific Rim, Europe, right? I'm just saying, okay? The vast majority of countries would rather be in gold and cryptos than the US dollar. Individuals would rather, outside the United States, not be in the US dollar, would rather be in other asset classes. Just saying. Can anyone say amen? Just saying. Inflation, as we see in many ways, I love bow ties. Just saying. He rocks it too. I like that. Just saying. Palantir, I've been saying this since last week. I said Palantir, Palantir, Palantir. Okay. This is, Palantir is an interesting swing, okay? It really is an interesting swing for me, at least. JD Surges, I'm not touching it. Maybe intraday, but whatever. Oak Resources retires shares the termination of capped call transaction. Gemini image generation launch was a mess up. You think? Why do you still have your job? Okay, so Albemarle did price their equity offering. Okay. I did buy a little bit on that dip on the offering as a result. Right? Okay. Targets jump, Apple company 50, 60 was a pop. Likely we're not insider selling, Dell, a lot of sales. Obviously, they owned a lot. So nothing wrong with that, right? ABSI, purchasing. Director. This is the one we talked about. Generative AI on the bio side. And here you go, trading all. This was sale, tied to options. And yeah. All right, let's see if this will behave for us today. See who's been naughty, who's been nice. Oh, we got a lot. Someone's dropping them down, as they say. All right, so Barclays, Andrew, busy. Initiates equal weight, a lot of initiations. ASPN, next, AGL, Cigna, CBS, downgrades. PTEC, but as you can see, it's on valuation. Upgrades. GitLab, PGO, Honeywell, Toge. Okie dokie. All right, let's see what this is just so much fun. I do this every day because I love to see how ridiculously stupid they are. I've been doing this for 2 years, and they've been ridiculously stupid for 2 years. The smartest peeps in the room. No change. 1 month ago, let's remind you how many cuts they were looking for. I just don't see it. Just don't see it. Now let's see what Flo has to say. Amazon. Okay, so for those in the swing room, we should have done the trade. I shout it out, okay. On the seasonality side, okay. Amazon is now entering strong seasonality. There, I said it. That Datadog's kind of interesting. I didn't see that. Video, SPY, hedges. So that was that 1.5 million for May, 504, almost at the money. All right, that's okay. I'm just wondering, because of with quad witching coming, the rebalance, whether we're going to see stuff happening this week. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud. Amazon, 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 and then you see the hedging coming through. I don't know. I'm just talking out loud. I do that from time to time. Steelers, Colgate, Consolidated, Ed, Hermes, Carlsberg, Furnace, Lululemon, Mondelez, Equinix, EQT, McDonald's, Microsoft. Okay. So yesterday we talked about this inverse ETF, and I said, it literally didn't take much for anything to happen here on this one. Okay, and we talked about that. And I trim half of my VXX. So what I've been doing is I have like a base, okay, and then I add into it. I always have something on the VXX. And it's normally 0.5% to 0.75%. 1/2 of 1% to 3/4 of 1%, just always there. Okay, and then I add into it based off of where we are, what I see and stuff like that. Okay, we had a little pullback, woo-woo, and then we have this. Okay, so let's see what happens here. I don't think I think next week is going to be more interesting. Maybe Friday, I don't know, with non-farm payroll. But I mean, this is just sharing is caring, caring is sharing. Retailing sector has cycled into an uptrend. We know. Okay, XRT seasonality. We've already had it. So consolidations. Look, if you've been in Abercrombie and Fitch, you're up 100%. I mean, it's really hard for me to get excited about other stuff. Investors are showing persistent enthusiasm. What does it mean? Going back to 1935. No, it's not as bullish as I would have thought, but obviously it's bullish. Momentum begets momentum. Abercrombie and Fitch, if you look at the chart, is a great example why you don't pick tops. You trim, okay, and you let it go. I made the mistake in 2 things this year. Abercrombie and Fitch and SMCI. I was in SMCI at 60. I said, I can't go as a double. I can't as a double. I can't. Guess what? Stupid me, right? Look, and that's what I'm saying is I make mistakes too. All right, so we have some seasonality coming in terms of insider buying. All right, so just keep an eye on that. Okay, so seasonally adjusted. All right, let's take a peek. We talked about this. We needed got a little reset, right? Where'd it come from? Where'd it go? China, communications, healthcare, obviously, yada. S&P banking, regional banking, global gold miners, yada, yada, yada. Money flows out of tech industrials into consumer discretionary. So the reality is, from a perspective, when you think about it, right? there's a constant rotational FOMO that goes on because everybody keeps trying to pick tops. Well, it's extended. Well, the PE multiples are too much. No, they are not. If you look in terms, and I say this, if you look in terms of the US dollar, okay, based on inflation, okay, 5,200 was the same as 4,800 at prior high. Okay, you have to factor in inflation, the cost of $1 today versus 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's the problem with a lot of these PE multiples, is that it's a raw data and it doesn't take into effect the constant maturity with the U at $1 value. Dinner and a show. Let's see. What do we got? 30-year. Everything's fine. I mean, seriously. The breath came in less rosy, right? But this is still a great breath map. Okay. It really is. This is a bullish breath map. Now, the only problem is obviously we got this, right? So this is the NASDAQ. So obviously up, down, sloppy, choppy. This I suspect coincides with rebalancing and stuff like that. That's what I'm thinking right now. I may be wrong. I may be full of it, but you know, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Right? Look, and this is why I said statistically, I have to have hedges on for the end of the month, because if I'm a statistical person, right, the risk reward warrants that I do that. Now, if you look here, S&P, Dow, Russell, this Russell this should be the month for the Russell. And if it isn't, then you know what I have to say about that. All right, let's talk. Here we go. You can see here. So, you know, this is really fascinating. Like I say, you can't underestimate the reality that, you know, these trades going on in terms of these basis trades are just so massive in size. I don't, from an overall, in its totality, we're in a range, and I don't see that changing. Okay. Would I like the yield curve just steepen? Yeah, I would. But will it? I don't know. Canada down, Germany, France, UK up. I mean, micromanaging what? Still holding. This is interesting. This 510, how it can't reclaim the 10 EMA. That's kind of interesting. All right, here's the 10-year, still range bound, still holding fine. All right. This, I think, like I say, I don't know how this plays out. Okay. Because I'm of the ilk that the economy, stupid, is so strong. We're not going to get a recession. We're not going to get cuts. More than likely, we probably break the lows. Okay. But you know what? I don't care. That makes sense. But okay. Right. Because I have my divvy trades on, and I'm not really, you know, that just wedded to the 10-year or these. I mean, I just have a lot of these. I have some preferreds on and stuff like that. So when it's all said and done, I kind of don't care so much. Okay. And I'm in like BTO, and I added into it, and the yields. I mean, I don't care. China, you got it. Look. Yeah. Uh, whatever. So this is the range, I think, now with German rates. I don't think we bust out of it anytime soon. Dollar, nothing. Cryptos, what a roller coaster, up, down, all the way around, right? I don't know if you saw overnight. Gold up again, silver up again, platinum, copper, green, Brent is up, natural gas is up. So the vast majority, I'd say 75, 80% is green today. Soybean is down, but soybean oil is up. Like sugar, OJ, like natural gas. I still like it. I think I'm saying right now, okay, I think this is a multi-year low that it's going to consolidate like this. Now you say, well, Beth, I mean, seriously, okay. So the low when it happened, okay, right, it took a year of consolidation. Okay, if you don't have the patience for this trade, that's why I have some KOLD against it, but it's still right now 2-1. Okay, a little bit more than 2-1. All right. Because I believe this to be a meaningful, and it could come back down like this. That's okay. I think this is a multi-year low, and this is what's going to happen. That's what I think that's going to happen. That's my first thing to do. MLPs still looking good. OIH. Okay, so we got back to the mid here. See what happens there. XLE holding up fine. So we're going to see it. I continue to say this. We'll see a divergence between the physical and the refiners and the miners. And a lot of that has to do with the gap that we're looking at right now. Ugh, it's just, okay. That hurts my head. Okay, this is USLUNG. So I think, it still continues to hold a 10 AMA on the monthly, so can't get too excited. All right, let's see. We're reclaiming that fib 7618, right? Okay, we're 79 now. Okay, this is the next quadrant to get into. I am long. I mean, gosh, you know that story. This is interesting right here. So, this gold is holding out, and look, gold is still. It still hasn't confirmed the breakout. Okay, and this is the breakout confirmation. We are holding above this pivot, no question about it. But let's be honest, you know my story. I'm overweight gold. I don't have any hedges on. Well, I do have slight, very light. Lumber, I'm watching that. I think we bust out on that. I think commodities in totality, we've seen a meaningful low. That's my story, sticking to it. Look, it's up, small caps, check. Fixes down, green, green, green across the board, except China, 850 and Kospi. DAX looks, well, we'll see, double top, right? FTSE going nowhere fast. Fez looking good, feeling good, right? EFA looking good, feeling good. Oh, thank you so much. Right. QQQ, CQQ, this is one that I look at. Came back down, looks like it's going to flag out. You know the drill on that. We're bullish for our market, right? EFA, IWM, Cyrus consolidation, you know the drill here. We want this to go down. Okay, no good comes from overseas small caps leading. All right, let's take a peek. Cyber, hack, bunk. I'm in this, 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 and this. Okay. And the reason why I keep saying is because look, cybersecurity is important. I keep saying this. Cybersecurity is important, and it's more important there. And these guys will get it right. And I mean, look at CrowdStrike, dude. Look, his bugging out. Okay. Now each one has different components, right? So hack about to break out, double top. Let's see if it happens. It should, but we'll see. Checkpoint, check. Fontnet looking better. Zscaler, keep an eye on this one, right? This one's actually kind of interesting, obviously, with earnings and stuff like that. It does have earnings coming up, but not for a while. But I mean, look, ENB, Snowflake, we know what happened here with, shit the bed, but it is holding this. So I am going to do a study on this. again. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one of my strangles. Okay, so just so you know, I like to do strangles. Crowd. So let's take a peek. On the extension, 468. And it coincides with the fib. Why not, right? S&PS, QQQ. Okay, let's take a look, double top. Okay, whatever. But, or sideways consolidation, then we flag out. I don't know, just say. QQQ, DFEN. Looking a little softer, but this is what we want to see. We want to see leadership. Oh, it's that whole construct of breath, right? We talk about it. It is important, but it is holding here against the XBI, right? QQQ Jets, consolidation. QQQ iPay, consolidation. QQQ XLV, this should break out, but just saying. If it doesn't, then that's an interesting narrative, right? In terms of the healthcare sector, right? Not sure why that's there. QQQ Apple, this is a no-brainer, right? Right, but let's see, are we at some sort of pivot here? Ish. Okay. I mean, don't forget Apple's important, right? So if we start to see Apple potentially, I'm just saying potentially, right? Potentially have a some sort of basing coming up, short-term bounce. Obviously, with the SPY and stuff like that, that would be notable because of its weightings, right? Is Meta kicking ass against the Qs, right? And we do have, well, let's see what this extension looks like. So I have a little bit farther to go on this one. I don't know. QQQ XRT, sideways consolidation. QQQ XLY, this is flagging out, isn't that pretty? QQQ XLP, consolidation, upper quadrant. Now, these are monthly charts, so if you're not patient, so the first 3 months tend to be sloppy, choppy in an election cycle, right? So here, before Spartan gets on. Okay, all right. Okay, so you got the February, then you got a pullback consolidation, and then this is May is when you really get going on here, okay? And you can see here what that looks like. So that's the NASDAQ, all right? So let's look at the SPX now. Well, let's look at this buy. Okay. Okay. So you have consolidation, rally, then you got this pullback in March. Okay. And then you've got this. All right. That's 7 out of 3. All right. 6 out of 1 side. All right. Right. So this dip that's coming potentially with the rebalance is a BTFT. That cool? From a presidential year election cycle. Pretty cool, huh? So when we get this end of the month dip on the rebalance, that's when I buy. I use it as a buying opportunity. Just saying. It's my story. It's a good story. Dow Jones transports against the Qs. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you don't want the Dow transports leading. You just don't. Okay, all right. Here we go. We got the Russell again. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Spy Russell. Well, I do know what to tell you. It's very frustrating. Okay. So what does it mean? It means that I have to be more active, but the reality is we're still seeing a lot of these low float small caps, right?
Already back ready to pop on whatever here.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys, morning. What's going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. So if you guys are new to chat and have already done so, make sure to click on that Discord link that's emailed to you. You're going to pop in a chat. It's going to look something a little bit like this. First area to go to when you guys do come in. Click on that disclaimer section, give that a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section. Scroll to the very, very top of the section and see a link to the disclaimer, as well as this bolded risk reward section. Super important to understand both in regards to risk reward, guys. Most important ratio in trading, so definitely worth checking out in that regard. Continue to scroll down. We have the summary of how this chat works, breaks down all the channels work on the left-hand side, so you can probably navigate the chat through today. Important so you know where to be looking. Continue to scroll down. We have the how to read alerts on the opposite equity side, breaking down how to read alerts on both sides. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Below that, options rules that we use every single day, Monday to Thursday, in regards to controlling risk, scaling in, scaling out, trading different price contracts, etc. SPX rules that we use every single day. Below this, any with a small account, less than 10K, break it down. If you have a smaller account, less than 10K, some rules, information, discipline you can put in place. You can better manage your account. How to pick ideas from an options or equity perspective below that. And lastly, high conviction small account trades. Post in that area when they do make sense. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? A couple different things that we're looking at. So what do we got? Tesla, SMC, MSTR, crowd though, and APM. Okay, so Tesla gapping down in continuation, FCA gapping up, same with the SPY, MSTR gapping up continuation with Bitcoin. Nice little bounce there, like we talked about yesterday. Crowd gapping up on earnings, though gapping down on earnings, and APM group announces entering into agreement and planned merger with V Group Holding Ltd and split off agreement to separate its legacy business, New York and London. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday. So first two we're going to be looking at today, guys, going to be that Tesla and SMCI. And let's take a look at those. Let me just load this back up, by the way. She's loading. Take a second here. There we go. All righty. So Tesla, guys, pivot to the downside today, 180.28, unable to hold 177.75 to 174.73. Able to hold, we look for pushback towards 183.30 to 186.82. Going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower. Pretty ugly looking chart at the moment, but I will look at if this support holds, potentially get back into like a longer term position on it or midterm position for a little bit of a bounce, but we'll see what happens there. So that's Tesla. Let's take a look at SMCI. Nice little move there, 11.24. Love that. Let's actually see a potential breakout today. Get that 1203 level. My fib. There it is. Pivot to the upside today, going to be 1104. That level holds. You get room towards the 1161 to 12. It's called 1202. 29. Unable to hold 1074 on the downside to 1023. Leaning bullish. Looking for a continuation push higher today. If the pivot point's able to hold, should be able to take out all-time highs today if that pivot is able to hold it this morning. And I think we could see a squeeze to $1,200 level. That is Tesla. That is SMCI. Let's take a look at the next two guys. So we got, oops, I'm gonna move this over here. MSTR crowd. Get all the little intraday levels there. Okay, so MSTR guys, 1129 pivot level holds, 1189, 1233. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 1077, 1035 upside or down, sorry, downside. Leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher. I think we can get a continued bounce here this morning. So that's what I'll be looking for there. That's MSTR. Let's take a look at crowd. Incredible move on crowd, by the way. Awesome. Do you think it is a watt though? Okay. Okay. So pivot to the upside today, guys. Going to be that 369.61. Actually, it's called 362.28. This level is able to hold 369.61 to 380.125. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on crowd to 355.26, 340.12. Going to be leading on the bearish side out the gate. I think we get a little bit of profit taking, and then we can see a little bit more of a bounce back after that. I think it's going to stay within its kind of range today. It's a huge move already. We'll see. If it does hold the pivot out the gate and it does push, then obviously we can take it long and scalp it to the upside, do all that type of stuff. Let's take a look at THO. Let's take a look at APM. So THO gapping down. We're at 101. THO 105.45 pivot levels able to hold 108.67, 110.48. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback towards 103.34, 168 downside, leaning on the bearish neutral side there today. Looking for continuation lower. That is that. APM. Actually, I should probably just go way further out. Yep. That's better. Makes a lot more sense. Okay. 467 pivot level holds 596, 732. Unable to hold 378. $3 downside, leaning bullish neutral for now out the gate, and then we can kind of see where we end up. That's 8 p.m. And that is THO. All right, let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. All right, guys, take a look at the market here. So we talked about this yesterday, how SPY I thought was going to get a little bit of a bounce off that EMA support. It did. Great. Still within its flag range. You got this head and shoulders. That is going to be the pivot point to the upside today. It's going to be a pretty big range. If we can hold this, get above this pivot point, I think you have an outside day. 5, 10, 10 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold 5, 11, 84, 5, 14, 38. Unable to hold 5, 07, 30, 5, 05, 02 downside, leaning bullish neutral at the moment, looking for a continuation push higher. But again, pivot point's going to be the big level to get above for continuation. So we'll have to see what happens there. That's SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. Might actually see a little bit of a bounce in this piece of garbage today. 170.31 pivot to the upside today. 172.08 to 173.85. Unable to hold. We look for pullback towards 168.35 to the 166.72 downside, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to hold. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon 175.32 pivot level holds 176.94, 178.79. Unable to hold 174.18 to 173.20. Again, you know, bouncing here, get a little head and shoulders on the upside. I think we get some continuation. It looks good to me for a little bit of a bounce continuation. So like that. That's Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. All right, Netflix guys, pivot to the upside today with 684 level holds, 608.40, 616.28, unable to hold 594.12, 590.30 downside, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. Meta. $495.76 pivot level holds, 501.69, 505.28. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 491.76, 487.89 downside, leading bullish neutral. Let's take a look at Google. So Google's actually maybe putting up a bounce today, guys. It's the first time it actually looks like it can. There's someone else about that yesterday. 133.28 pivot. That's going to be the key. You get back above that and you hold. Let's see a bounce to 135.48 today, in my opinion. Unable to hold 132.03, 130.68. So watch that pivot point. You might actually see a little bit of a bounce up here based off of that. All right, so that's SPY. It's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. Going to pass it over to South Beach. While I type up the pre-market action plan, then we'll do a quick little recap for the open. South Beach, if you're ready. It's all yours.
All right. Hey guys. All right. So a lot of stuff came out this morning. We have the Fed stuff. We'll get to that in a minute. Just let's look at the technicals first. See how much damage was yesterday, and I would venture to say very little. Okay, it never broke the any moving average in the daily on the S&P, and it looks fine. And the NASDAQ is exactly the same. Slightly worse, but pretty good. Okay, and you know I go by the weekly, and that's just in fuego. All right, let's go to the Russell. Russell looks like it wants to break out. We'll see. But it looks constructive. Transports, garbage. It actually looks like it's going to fail. I mean, this chart is terrible. The daily chart is bad, and it looks like you're going to violate the weekly chart as well. And the utilities are probably in the same camp. Nope, actually, utilities are a little better, but still in the down channel. I wouldn't play either one. If you're going to play things, it's been tech. I'd stay with tech. All right, that's that. Let's see. Powell spoke today. So let's see what he said. Okay. So what is the street expecting, first of all? The street is expecting 4 rate cuts this year, with the first one starting in June. Okay. Now, Powell's going to speak today in front of, I think, Congress, and tomorrow's the Senate, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter. It's the same speech. Okay. Questions may be a little different, but his answers should be kind of sort of the same. Okay. Basically, he's basically saying, he expects a rate cut this year, but he's not sure when it starts. Okay. He thinks inflation's coming down to his 2% level. But the PCE for whatever it was, January, was a little bit of a hiccup, and he'll see what happens. Okay. So he's expecting rate cuts this year, but he won't be definitive in any way versus what the street is saying, right? 4 cuts starting in June. I think there's a lot of data between now and June, and we'll see what happens. Okay. Right now, I think the street is sticking to its guns. 4 rate cuts, like I said, beginning in June, first one in June. And Powell's going to kick the can down the road until he gets more data. That's basically the gist of it. Okay. So with that in mind, you look at the bonds, and they shouldn't move today, right? And you look at them, and they're flat as a pancake. Okay. No movement on the short end of the curve, almost no movement on the long end. The 10 years down 0.01 at 412. It hit a high of like a little bit over 5. So it's down a full point since then. And that inversion is at 40, which is the high end of that recent range, but still in the range. And so the bond market is not very significant at the moment. Okay, even if it stayed here, I don't think it's disastrous, quite frankly. And rates overseas, quiet, just like no movement whatsoever. Okay, right across, whether you look at Japan, whether you look at Britain, whether you look at the Eurozone, it's all basically the same. If you look at Egypt, it's a little different. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that country doesn't really affect us too much. All right, so then we have commodities. We see oil up, okay, $1.20, still in the range of 70, 80. So as long as it's in that, I'm okay. Natural gas has moved up, right? It was 159, it's 195 now, but it's gotten smoked, and these stocks, are acting a little better. Gold is just, a real ripper. Okay, so it's anything that, look, there's so much debt out there from all these countries, whether it's the US at 34 trillion, you pick your poison. And people are, not comfortable holding currencies. So what's happening? Gold is doing well and Bitcoin's doing well. And from what I can see, that probably continues. Okay, so wouldn't shock me one bit. And gold has been a big winner because of it. Copper still in that trading range. Okay, industrial metal. And as far as these agricultural commodities, other than the one that I talk about every day, which is cocoa, which is up a little bit this morning, they've been kind of in trading ranges. Some of them a little better, like cotton's kind of broke out a little bit, but for the most part, there's not a whole lot going on that affects our equity trading. Currency-wise has been quiet, very quiet. Even when there's a move, it's practically insignificant. One day one way, one day the other way. And there's not a whole lot of movement going on here at all. I'm looking for China, but I don't see it. Fuck. Oh, here it is. No change. There's just nothing going on in the currency market. It's super quiet. Crypto, on the other hand, you got Bitcoin up 7% today, 7.5%. You got Ethereum up 13, and Solana up 7. Fortunately, I'm not short any Bitcoin. But I know a bunch of guys who went home short this thing in a big way. Okay, they thought it cracked yesterday, and they are licking their wounds today. A bunch of my buddies called me. They're shorting, all this shit, and they're really taking it in the tuchus today. And let's see the indexes. We got the FTSE up 0.3, DAX is dead flat, CAC is dead flat, Nikkei dead flat, 0.02. China down a tinge, almost nothing. Hong Kong is up 1.7%, and Taiwan, which has been a super hot market, probably even hotter than ours, and Japan. I don't know about Japan, but definitely hotter than ours, based on the semiconductor situation, is up another 0.58. And that's the backdrop. Okay, so you got the Powell speech, which we basically know what it is, and we know what it's going to be tomorrow. We don't know the questions. He may answer them in a little nuancy way, but for the most part, he's not going to lay out his game plan for these guys. Going to basically say things are improving as per our expectations, and we think we're at peak rates, and we'll see when we expect to lower rates sometime this year. That's the synopsis of it. Okay, so that's the banks and Fed. China and Russia will discuss. Crypto we just did. Mr. Market yesterday, so you had, basically a fairly, decent sell-off. NASDAQ was down 1.6%. The Dow was down 1%, S&P 1%. And then you had some of these individual names that have been getting slaughtered, like Apple's down 3%, Tesla was down 4%, Netflix and Microsoft were down 3%. I wouldn't focus on the latter two, but these first two, they're acting terrible. There's Tesla again down another $2. I mean, I think these Chinese cars are a real problem. I think the fact that people aren't embracing EV as quickly as they expected is a problem. I think the plant in Germany is a bit of an issue. I think that if barriers to entry aren't, put on these Chinese manufacturers, then Tesla's got a really tough competitor on their hands. And it's all reflected in the stock. And there was a piece out yesterday saying that the collateral that he put up in Tesla for his position in X, lenders are getting a little antsy about that. I have no idea whether that's true or not, but the stock action would lead me to believe there's some real problems going on in the world of Tesla at the moment. Okay, so that's that. And what's working? Same old shit, right? Tech, semis especially. What would I expect today? I would expect tech to continue. Okay, rates are okay. They're not gonna, he was kind of constructive on that side, and tech has been the leader, so I think it continues. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw oil break out of the 70-80 channel as we enter Ramadan, I think, which begins, I don't know, in a few days. Maybe, when does Ramadan begin? I don't know, but generally, a lot of prognosticators are saying tensions and fighting gets worse during Ramadan. So with all the geopolitical mess, I wouldn't be surprised to see oil break out of this little trading range that it has. Then you got the Bitcoin, right? Every time this happens, Mara and Riot fail. So I'm going to be looking at that one on the short side. And this JD number, maybe these Chinese stocks can get some legs. I mean, these are attractive prices, but I still don't trust them. Let's see if they can, I'm open to trading them from the long side. Let's put it that way. That's my thoughts on that one. Okay, and what else do we have? State Department, the geopolitical situation is really, really messy. I mean, it's almost, I can't remember it being this messy, quite frankly. So you have the State Department, U.S. uh, is sending people to the Philippines as, you know, provocative action based on China. So China's buzzing Philippines now. You know, they've been doing that in Taiwan for a while. A friend of ours whose husband is a Army SEAL was just told to go to Asia. So I don't know what's going on there. Which I was surprised at. I figured the guy would be in the Middle East, but no, they're sending him to Asia. Interesting, right? You have this Hamas Israel, they're trying to do a ceasefire, but the things on the northern border are heating up. Then you got Russia gaining momentum in Ukraine. Civilians are worried what comes next. And they're complaining they have an equipment for crisis. So their fighting is hampered. And there's a rumor out there that Zelensky was invited to the White House and he refused. I don't know if that's true, but they're saying no to that. And I would say I wouldn't want to put all my eggs in the USA basket. Okay, that's for damn sure. We're the worst friend we could possibly have. We leave our guys sucking wind. Maybe so, Twins. Maybe so, buddy boy. I would say Twins has been a lot more right than wrong on this whole thing. So when he says something, I pay attention. Okay. What else we have here? The Russia thing. Okay, so then you have Sam Altman. He is responding to Musk's letter about how AI should have not been a profit center and it should be open. And he has emails indicating that Musk said exactly the opposite. Okay, that they should start open and close it quickly, make money, etc., etc. Kind of makes Musk look a bit of a it doesn't put him in the best light. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Mortgage applications surged 11% last week. You know what was funny? They came out with the percentage of cash buyers for homes. It was up to like a record of like 35%. I think that's based on a lot of people have plenty of cash and a lot of people can't get mortgages. So they have to pay cash. When you go for a mortgage application, it's just a spreadsheet that the government puts out. So these guys have very little wiggle room. It's like, it used to be know your banker. Doesn't matter how well you know your banker. Okay. There's a strict guideline of how much money can be lent. And if you don't have the credentials, they can't lend you the money no matter how well they know you. So a lot of cash buyers out there. Egypt raised interest rates 600 basis points to 27.25%. Okay, then we have, what is it, Turkey, that's like some ridiculous number. I don't know what it is, 50%, 60%. And people are buying Bitcoin. Can you blame them? Because the currencies are going down every single day. Whether it's the US, which is probably in the best shape, to the worst, which is probably Turkey. Okay, or these African countries or whatever. So fiat currency is not the place. No bueno, as they say. All right. Then there was an article on CNBC, the best AI plays other than NVIDIA. And basically we know them, right? Taiwan Semi, ASML, AMD, Vert, SMCI, and Google, Meta, and Microsoft. Okay, and then they do some smaller companies that we've never heard of, private. Tigris, which is an Altman stock, is one of them. And this company, GROQ, Grok. Okay. Takeover candidates. Morgan Stanley saying M&A is going to improve, and this is their list of most likely takeover candidates. Trip, Wing, Wolf, VTRS, Sarepta, Victoria's Secret, VAC, JWin, THC, and Hertz. Then Kramer, who's almost always bullish, is really worried about the market. He thinks it's toppy, not frothy. He thinks toppy is worse than frothy. And he gives a bunch of examples why he doesn't like the market. All right, like Tesla failing. I'm trying to find the things. Apple, the fact that it's acting so shitty. SMCI, he says, is the most overvalued stock in the stock exchange. The valuation is terrifying, according to him. Then the hottest enterprise software company, it's called DevSecOps operating software, which is supposed to be the hottest thing out there, GitLab, and they missed. So that's another reason he doesn't like them so much. Snow, CEO leaving, missing earnings, et cetera, et cetera. CRM, the selling after it came out with good earnings, and Bitcoin running the way it does, okay, topping also. So he's not bullish on the market, and he usually is. So that's why I bring it up, okay? So that was Kramer's spiel. What else we have? We have a bunch of individual names. We know CrowdStrike and all the security software companies are ripping on that, you see, right? PANWs, ES, Okta, Med, FTNT, Checkpoint, etc. JD had good numbers. Let's see if it can move up from here. BASE and Box were good. And the rest of these we won't really trade. Palantir got that contract. It's up a deuce. I thought the contract was small at 130 million, but maybe it's the start of something. Who knows? They like the stock. I like the stock. Whatever. Fidelity is doing a 10% RIF. Morgan Stanley is laying off 10% of their China staff. TXCM was granted an FDA license for an over-the-counter glucose monitor. And that's that one. On the negative side, you have a bunch of retailers that are down this morning. Foot Locker, THO, not a retailer, Ross Stores, Jwin always missed Nordstrom, EVC, Checkpoint Software. Xerox is doing a convert, NSSC. There's a bunch of offerings, okay? AKRO will be Bridge Bio, LSEA, NSSC, and VNOM. Okay. ADP numbers you saw 140 versus 150,000. Research wise, GitLab was upgraded at Wolf, and MDGL, a really good price target and initiation at Citi, used a 382 target. I think this is a takeover candidate. NVIDIA, CIBC, I think it is, that outperformed target 870. Someone did SMCI, someone Argus put a 1350 target. Everybody likes Crowd. The highest target I saw was 435 out of Wells Fargo. And no one likes Jwin. And Tesla, that idiot at Morgan Stanley, lowered his target from 345 to 320. I knew Tesla would have problems once this guy liked it. And sure enough, that's the way it worked out. I'm going to pass it over to Spartan because I'm out of time. And let's make some money, guys. Spartan's all yours.
Alrighty, guys, 1 second here. Okay, so that's out. Okay, so if you guys are new to chat and haven't done so, make sure to click on that Discord link that's emailed to you. You're gonna pop into chat. It's gonna look something a little bit like this. First area to go to when you guys do come in. Click on this disclaimer section, give it a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section and scroll to the very, very top. Top of the section, you'll link to the disclaimer. It's also this bolded risk reward section. Super important to understand both in regards to risk reward, guys. Most important ratio trading, so definitely worth checking out there. Continue to scroll down. We have the summary of how this chat works. Breaks down the channel's work on the left-hand side, so you can probably navigate the chat through the day. Important to you know where to be looking. Continue to scroll down. We have how to read alerts on the options and equity side, breaking down how to read alerts on both sides. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Below this, options rules that we like to use every single day. In regards to the options ideas that we have, SPX rules that we use as well right below that. Continue to scroll down. We have any of the small account less than 10K breaking down. If you have a smaller account less than 10K, some rules, information, discipline you can put in place. You can better manage your account. How to pick ideas from an options or equity perspective below that. And lastly, high conviction small account trades posted in that area when they do make sense. Let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. A couple different things, of course. So let's have a gander. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got? So far Tesla, SMCI, MSTR, Crowd, THO, and then APM. So Tesla gapping down in continuation, SMCI gapping up in sympathy with SPY, MSTR gapping up in continuation with Bitcoin, Crowd gapping up on earnings, THO gapping up on earnings, APM Group Ltd announces entering into agreement and planned merger with YOV Group Holding Ltd and split off agreement to separate its legacy business, New York, London, gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're looking at today, guys, can be that Tesla and SMCI. Let's have a gander at those. So Tesla's, obviously pulling back here still. 180.28 pivot to the downside today. Levels unable to hold 177.75, 174.73. Able to hold. We look for a push towards 183.30 to 186.82 on the upside. Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side there today if the pivot point's unable to hold. SMCI pivot upside is going to be the 1104, level holds 1161, 1202, unable to hold 1074 to 1023 downside, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher there today. MSTR, and then we have the Crowd. Ooh, there we go. MSTR pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be 1129, level holds 1189, 1233, unable to hold 1074 to 1035 downside, leaning bullish neutral there. Crowd 362.28, level holds 369.61 to 381.25, unable to hold 355.26, 340.12 downside, leaning bullish neutral. THO and APM. THO 105.45, level holds 108.67, 110.48, unable to hold 103.34, 168 downside, leaning bearish neutral of the pivots, unable to hold. An APM 467 pivot, level holds 596 to 732, unable to hold 378, $3 downside, leaning bullish neutral. Let's take a look at SPY and FANG. SPY 5 10 13 pivot to the upside today. Level holds 511.84 to 514.38, unable to hold 507.30 to 505.02. Okay, I gotta actually type this one out. Okay, so SPY 5 10 pivots to the upside today. This level holds, room higher into the 511.84 resistance, breaks. We see the 514.38 tested. Pivot, unable to hold. Room lower into the 507.30 support. Breaks. We see the 505.02 tested. Leaning bullish neutral there. Go. So that is the SPY. Let's take a look at the rest of the FANG here. Oops. Close this. What's crazy is the our CrowdStrike investment ideas. I think up a couple 100% here. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the FANG. Apple. Just posting all that stuff for you guys. As I do. Apple, guys, pivot to the upside today. 170.31 level holds 172.8 to 173.85. Unable to hold 168.35 to 166.73 downside leaning bullish. We're looking for a continuation push higher if the pivot point is able to hold. Let's take a look at the rest of the FANG here. Amazon. Pivot to the upside today is going to be the 175.32 levels able to hold. You got room towards 176.94. That level breaks. 178.79, unable to hold 174.18 to 173.20, leaning bullish neutral there. Let's take a look at Netflix. Pivot to the upside, 684 level holds 608.40 to 616.28, unable to hold 594.12, 590.30 on the downside, leaning bullish neutral as well. Meta. Pivot to the upside today is going to be the 495.76 level holds 501.69, 505.28, unable to hold 491.76 to 47.89 downside, leaning bullish neutral there. So look at Google. Pivot to the upside today, going to be the 133.28 level holds 135.48, 137.09, unable to hold 132.03 to 130.66 downside, leaning bullish neutral there as well. Let's take a look at the VIX, Qs, and IWM. So VIX pivot to the upside or downside, I should say. It doesn't really matter though. 1388 levels unable to hold, 1358, 1308 level holds 1441, 1497. As always, using that for direction on the market. Keep an eye on the VIX. You know, it has been very good for the downside actually when it does spike. QQQ's 440.03 pivot level holds 442, 29 to 446.18. Unable to hold 437.63 to 435.09 downside, leaning bullish neutral there. And then last but not least, my friends, we have the SPX. $50.87 level holds 51.14 to 51.44. Unable to hold 50.58 downside. And that's going to be leaning on the bullshit side there as well if the pivot can hold. Alrighty, so that's it, my friends. So if you guys popped in the YouTube stream today, thanks for popping in and watching. We do this every single Wednesday, and that's pretty much it. If you guys want to come trade with us, you can certainly do so. Go to SpartanTrading.com. You can sign up there. We stream every single day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.